Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Real Producers Live. Today, our host is going to be Lance Dunahoe, and he is over the Tarrant County part of Real Producers. And but I'm Lendon Wilson, and I am his co-host and back office producer, if you want to call me that. But before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about what the difference is. We created the difference almost 2 years ago, with the objective of helping small business owners, entrepreneurs, community leaders connect on a deeper level with their communities that they work so hard in and they love so much. And so we have been able to partner with Real Producers and Jordan Espeseth. Jordan has done an incredible job in uniting some of the area's top real estate agents and those people that support the real estate industry as well. We've got a couple of those on today. I'm excited to meet them. Actually met them briefly backstage and can't wait for us to be able to introduce them to you today. So before I go any further, I'm going to go ahead and bring Lance in. Good morning, Lance. How are you?
Good morning, Lyndon. I'm excited to be here. This is going to be a fun show.
Fun show. Your first one to host. You've been on one with me and Jordan and Rochelle earlier, right?
That's right. Yeah.
I was giving you a hard time before. I was telling that the bar has been set so high, and I know she's watching. That's why I'm going to say that. But Rochelle just she had a home run last week, and so I wanted to put that pressure on you. I want to make you feel nervous, all the things. But sitting and talking to you, you've got a great show put together today. I'm really excited about it. Can't wait.
Well, we've got two fantastic guests. Backstage, that was a lot of fun. I think our conversation is going to be lively, and I think we're all going to learn something. We already have today. We learned about how to turn on Do Not Disturb on our phones already. So there's all sorts of tips and tricks that I think we're going to pick up on today.
We're always bringing value, right? Whether you need it or not. We have a lot of useless information and sometimes a lot of really useful information. So, Lance, tell everybody about you and a little bit about your background, about your history, and how you got involved with DFW's Real Estate Best, the Real Producers.
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you. So you kind of alluded earlier to really my journey here. A lot of it has to do with my meeting Jordan Espeseth, who kind of blew in from the north back in 2018 and launched the North DFW Real Producer magazine. And he approached me as a potential partner, as I'm the owner of Inspect 360, an inspection company, to partner and to advertise in Real Producer magazine as he was launching it. And like a lot of folks, I didn't know anything about it and was really reluctant. And then after meeting him, sat down and went through everything. And I said no. He told me that he had heard about me from agents talking about me, top agents. And that's sort of how you get invited to be part of this community is you have to be working with the top 500 agents. And so, of course, I kind of arrogantly said, well, if they're already talking about me, why do I need you? Not realizing what I was saying until I kind of learned what I was missing out on. And as I watched him grow and really nurture and develop this community, and that's what it is. It's a community of the best agents and the best businesses that they work with. I just realized that I was missing out. I had that total, I guess, FOMO, they call it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and saw some of my colleagues that were really benefiting from this platform of being able to meet and develop relationships with realtors outside of that transaction and nurture those. So that's kind of how my journey started. And then kind of fast forward to now 2020, 2021, Jordan approached me as they were expanding into Tarrant County, and I had been contributing as a writer to Real Producer and some other publications. And sort of my background, I was an English and communications major. One of the reasons I had to go start my own business because I couldn't find a job. That's what English majors have to do. And so I had been kind of contributing in that way. And so when he, number one, I was very honored when he asked me if I wanted to partner in that. But so it's kind of my men's hair club moment. For those of you that know about men's hair club, I'm not just an owner, but I'm a I'm a member too.
Right.
I still am an active partner and advertiser in the Dallas and North DFW, and now I'm the co-owner with Jordan Espeseth in Tarrant Real Producer, which we launched in March of this year, and it has been one of the most exhilarating, maybe a strong word, but it is so fun and inspiring. Every week I get to sit down with some truly incredible and remarkable people that have great stories of success and failure and just their journey to become a top agent in Tarrant County. So it's just been a total blast, Lendon.
You use the word inspiring, and that's one of the things after partnering with Real Producers back last fall, when Jordan and I met, we kicked off his first show before we did the reboot. And I mean, anybody that knows him knows his energy. They know his passion, his enthusiasm. It's hard to be in a bad mood when you're around Jordan because he's so upbeat all the time. And we need to surround ourselves with more people like that, especially in 2020 when COVID was here. And of course, for some, it's not really gotten that much better. But what I love about it is the people that you guys are bringing together and introducing us to. I love the stories. I love doing this because, they didn't get to the top by not being able to overcome some of the toughest adversity. And when I created the difference, I mean, I'd been an entrepreneur for 30 years and I had failed more than I had succeeded. But entrepreneurs just keep going, right? You don't have a choice. So you just keep pushing. And sometimes we feel so isolated. We feel like failures. We feel like that our mistakes are unique to us. No one else has ever had this experience. And you see everybody's Facebook highlight reel, right? So you think everything is perfect and then you get to talk to these people. And yes, they're succeeding, but they had their share of struggles along the way too. And so that for me, when people listen, I've gotten so many emails and calls like, man, I was ready to give up today till I heard that. And that it just got me inspired, just what you said. So excited to bring these guys on whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I think, and we're going to kind of go there today, Lendon, because I think those stories are inspiring. So I am so honored to introduce you to first one of our most incredible partners in Tarrant Real Producer magazine, Taylor Davis with PROCO Roofing. You guys are going to love him. Hey, Taylor, welcome. Oh, I think you're muted.
I'm just kidding. I just really don't like when people do that on Zoom calls. Sorry.
What a guy. See, that's what I'm talking about, folks. And then we're also going to be talking with Matt Gauntt with Century 21 Judge Fite, Taylor's good friend. And that's really where we're going to start here. Real Producer magazine is all about connections and relationships, and it's top agents and the businesses that they work with. It's the best and the best. And Taylor, when I invited you on the podcast, I asked you, who would you like to have as your guest? You immediately said Matt Gauntt. And so I'd love to hear about you guys. I'd like for you guys to just briefly tell our audience about yourself. And then really let's get into how you guys connected and how do you guys make a difference in each other's lives and each other's businesses. But go ahead, Taylor.
Okay. Well, a little bit about me. I am like the weirdest roofer in the world as far as roofing is concerned. I was a full-time musician for like 8 years, and failed miserably at that. And so I started working for State Farm Insurance, did that for about 8 years, and then started working for PROCO, and kind of came at this with the insurance background, but also the big thing about PROCO is music is such a big part of our company. All 4 partners at PROCO are musicians, and they didn't have a bass player. And I went to one of their gigs and I was like, you guys need a bass player, and I have a bass. I'll play bass for you guys. And then one thing led to another, and they asked me to come aboard, and I started working for PROCO. So it's just been great.
Taylor, do you have a fiddler?
No.
Had to go there. Sorry.
I
got that reference.
I get it. I got a violin right there.
There you go.
We could do it. Yeah. But yeah, so that's how I got into what we're doing now. And basically I try to just help our team be successful and stay on track. And so I met Matt through Judge Fite Colleyville. It's probably my favorite group of people ever. And my wife works for PROCO as well. She worked at the JCPenney corporate office for like 12 years. And then she got sick of it and retired and came to work for PROCO. And so she is actually the person that handles Judge Fite Colleyville. And we've kind of connected with the Gauntt family and love them. And we think they're all awesome. And my wife is just head over heels for the whole family. And it's just been great. It's just been really cool to work with people that are down to earth and also like ninjas at what they do too. So it's not like they're just like, hey, I'm a nice guy. They're some of the best in the business, which is really cool. So, but yeah. And, I know Matt has got I've seen your microphone set up before, and I was like, this guy is going to be a podcaster. Let's do this.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's all I got.
Well, Matt, yeah, let's give you a chance to give that mic a workout.
Sure.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We'd love to hear more about you, your background, and how you guys connected, and then I want to kind of dig into your relationship a little bit, if you don't mind.
Absolutely. So I'll start with my connection with Taylor. So my first exposure, I'm going to call it exposure to Taylor, was at a meeting when we were doing live sales meetings with our office before COVID. And Taylor and his wife Annie came in, and I think it was the very first time that we had you guys in front of our office. I just immediately could tell certain things about him, because when you interact with Taylor, you're not getting what he thinks you want from him. You're getting Taylor. Like you're going to get some of the goofball. You're going to get the musician. You're going to get the person who genuinely cares about you. And I saw that and I was like, that's a genuine guy right there. Like, because he's not pitching me a version of himself. He was pitching me who he is. And so that was really inspiring, because I saw it when I see something in somebody else and I want more of that in myself. I want to be closer to those people and I want to interact with those people a lot. And so I saw that and I liked that. And I said, okay, I feel like I could trust this guy as a person and I like him. So I could definitely get a roof through him. And so we have on many deals had them out to come look at roofs for our buyers or sellers. And they make that transaction super easy, but it doesn't even feel like a transaction. It feels like you're just talking with a friend. And so that, plus just hanging out with them outside of all of the day-to-day work stuff, has just been a really cool relationship. And there's a lot of stuff I see in Taylor. I'm like, man, that guy's cool. I need to be cooler when I'm interacting with people. So yeah, so that's a little bit about how I know Taylor. I talk with his wife a lot, trying to get, roofs put on and communicate that with our clients and with the people sitting across the table from us on transactions. So love plugging them into deals. It's been great for my people. So and then a little bit of background about me. So I came into the business in 2010. I was not ready. I was a little bit younger. I was fresh out of college. And I don't know if you have ever dealt with people that are fresh out of college. They don't have any money. And so there was not a lot of people in my sphere of influence that were buying and selling real estate at the time. We all had college debt. None of us were established in our careers. And so it was a slow start. And so I got into the business for about a year. I made a few sales and then I got out of the business. I came back in 2014 after I met my wife, because I had not left the business to go on to make more money. I had kind of that safety net, get paid every 2 weeks, sort of 9-to-5 job. And that was all well and good. But I had a family business over here on the side that was a well-greased machine and seeing a lot of success. And so me and all my people in my sphere kind of had a couple years there to kind of establish ourselves. I certainly seemed to be on the back end of that. But when I came back into the business, I stepped into my family's success and everything that I do, everything that I know and I've learned is a result of their influence and they're just loving on me and pouring into me that wisdom. So my family started, I think, doing real estate. I'm a 4th generation realtor. So my great grandmother, from what I recall of this, was an agent for a time, but really the people who started doing this in our family line was my grandmother and grandfather. They bought an office building out by Eagle Mountain Lake, and they started Red Carpet Realty. And after a number of years, they bought into the Century 21 franchise, and so it was called Century 21 Lake Country. When my father came into the business under his dad, my grandfather, he expanded that to 2 locations. We had the Eagle Mountain Lake location. We also had another location in Colleyville. That was Century 21 Tim Gauntt Company. And I think we're at 5 years. About 5 years ago, we sold both of those into the now Judge Fite family. And that has just been one of the best transitions. I think one of the best business moves we ever did. And so we've been working with Jim and Jan Fite and their whole family and their brokerage for about 5 years now. And so that's where we are today. Just kind of bring you up to speed.
Yeah. Well, you touched on a few things I wanted to talk about because it was just kind of interesting. It was unintentional that both of you guys come from legacy business owners here in this community and that have really made a difference in a lot of people's lives. And I want to go back to Taylor real quick because Taylor, your dad is somebody that has been in business for a long time, right on Main Street in downtown Grapevine, and you've kind of come out of that world as a legacy business owner. Let's talk a little bit about how that legacy influences you, and how do you create your own path and make a difference?
Well, yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, my dad was a State Farm agent for 47 years in Grapevine, before Grapevine was anything, before really it was anything. And his name's Mike Davis. And I worked for him. My sister worked for him. My brother, my stepsisters, the whole family worked for him. And sometimes he didn't want us to, but he still let us. I remember being like 8 years old and stamping insurance policies with his seal on it, and he'd give me like 5 cents per one. And then I worked there in high school, and then after I failed miserably at music, I worked there. Thanks, Pops. Yeah, it was great. And watching him be involved with the community, he was the president of the school board for a while. I think he was on the school board for like 17 years, and he was plugged into the Grapevine, Colleyville, and Southlake Chamber of Commerce's. He was a member on those boards, and very involved with the church, and saw all that and how he stayed involved with people. And also the biggest thing I learned from him was go to work. So he was 72 years old and still going to work every single day. And for an insurance agent to be 72 years old and do that is rare. The ones that do that are the top ones in the country. So I learned that from him. And then he called me one day and said, "Hey, I'm going to leave State Farm, and I think I'm going to come work for PROCO." And I was like, "Wow, okay, cool." And kind of blew me away. We all joked that we would find him face down on his desk dead at age like 95 at his State Farm office.
Oh my gosh.
But no. So we took over his building, and he works for PROCO now. My wife works for PROCO. My mother-in-law works for PROCO. My brother was one of the guys that started PROCO Austin. My sister worked for PROCO, but we got in a fight in the copy room, and so I fired her. No, not really. But yeah, so we're trying to make it a legacy business. There is a lot of friends and family that work at PROCO. I mean, the connection of those friends and family members are so important to who we are. And it's just awesome. So I honestly have no idea if I answered your question, because I
No,
just
yeah. Well,
way too
I
much.
love what you just said. As I'm meeting with top agents every week, and I go through the publication, and I stop at each one of our ads and I introduce them to PROCO. I love that I can brag about your legacy in the community, coming from an insurance background, and so it's certainly the perspective that you have, but also you guys have a legacy of integrity in what you do. And when your name comes up, that's a word that is often used. So congratulations on continuing that legacy, because I think that brand in itself is so powerful, that you have created your own version of this and are making your own path forward with that.
Thank you.
Lendon, I think you had something that you wanted to say a little bit about that, and then I want to give Matt a chance, because as he alluded to, he's come from a rich history. I've had the pleasure of knowing his family for a long time as well, but I think, Lendon, you had something that you wanted to interject.
I did. We talked about this a little bit before, Lance, and doing the doing the difference, being an entrepreneur for as long as I was, having the success and having the failures, watching the market crash of 2008, and watching the people that survived. And some of them even I hate to use the word thrive. They may not feel that way, but according to everybody else, they were. And it just became evident to me. And that's why I called the show that we do in our network The Difference. I wanted to always know, what's the difference? Why is this guy achieving so much? And this guy's working just as hard, but he's not achieving quite as much, right? They're both good. They're both talented. They're both experienced. And for a lot, the main thing that we always found out is it was mindset. But the second thing was relationships. And, we have determined that you can create a revenue stream on transactions, but you create your wealth through your relationships. And that's what will sustain you through these negative times like COVID and like what we're going through now, this crazy, crazy market. Matt was talking about that before, about building that relationship with the seller's agent, right? That how critical is that? And when you're going in, and it's not always just about the money, is it, Matt? Sometimes it's about the connections that we make. And, you're talking about a legacy business with Taylor. You're talking about a legacy business with Matt. You cannot build a legacy without relationships, because if you do not have relationships, at some point you become irrelevant, and you can't pass irrelevance along to your family. I mean, there's nothing there. And so anytime I hear a legacy, the first thing that I may sound nerdy on this, but it gives me chills, because I realize those people got it. They got that the people that they worked for were more valuable than just a commission check or whatever it may be. And so it goes so deep into building that brand, that legacy brand that you can continue to carry on.
Absolutely.
Lendon, if I can add to that, Matt, you got some big shoulders you're standing on, some big shoes to fill. I really attribute a lot of my early success in my home inspection company to your folks. They gave me some of my first inspections. So
wow.
If Tim and Rosalind are listening, thank you. Thank you. And they've made such a difference in so many businesses, and the people that they've influenced with their generosity and their contribution. So let me ask you, how does this legacy now influence what you do? And as you forge your own path, and where do you take it from here and make that your own?
Yes, sir. No, that's an excellent question. Thank you for asking that. So the bar was set pretty high coming in. And so Tim and Rosalind, one of the things, and there was a large consistency between how it was in the house and how it was at business. There was a set of values that mattered, and it matters in how you are with people. It matters in how you interact with your coworkers. It matters in what you're doing in a deal. And I saw a consistency there. And if you know Tim and Rosalind, you know that they genuinely care first about the person across the table from them. And that shows in just how they interact. That shows in how they follow up. That shows in how they work for a person. I got to watch my parents. You had mentioned Lendon during the downturn in the 2000s. I got to watch my parents struggle through some hard times when a lot of realtors, a lot of brokers fell out of the business. They made sacrifices to not only keep their business above water, but also for their agents that worked for them and
Right.
for the people that they were working for. Everybody had to sacrifice during that time. And I watched them do that with care, sometimes to their own expense. And that spoke volumes about how important, not only about how important that is to be that to a person that you're trying to build we're talking about a lasting relationship with, that I'm not just in for one transaction, but I'm your guy for life.
Right.
But also just seeing that character and what that meant to their own personal development as people. And I think that if you made it through that time and you were refined by those fires, you are a stronger person today. And so kind of watching, what does a person do when they're down?
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that I got to learn during that time. And I feel like I bring that into the business today. What are you doing behind a closed door? What are you doing when no one's watching? What are you doing when times are tough? And we're dealing with a little bit of that right now. It's definitely a different marketplace today, but we're seeing that if depending on which side of the deal you're on, it's tough right now to buy a home. And I know we'll probably talk about that a little bit more later, but it's a huge difference to your client when they get to see that, especially right now when how are you when you have to deliver bad news? How are you when the emotions are low for the buyer and they're looking to you to set the tone? Those are the signs of a pro.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things my mentor, when he was talking to me once about developing not just the relationships with the clients or the customer, but especially in the real estate industry, you got to have strong relationships within the real estate support industry with the inspectors and not so much the appraisers anymore, because that's kind of regulated, but the roofing, the title, all of that, everybody plays a very important role. And one of the things that I was taught early is to have a good fix-it strategy. You got to have a good fix-it strategy because you don't want to throw people under the bus. You don't want to diminish whatever, but we all need to have a good fix-it strategy. And one of the things that when I was in mortgage, that's the one thing I wanted everybody to know. And when I was going to partner with someone, I wanted to know what theirs was, because things are going to go wrong, especially in real estate. There's just too many people involved. There's too many things. Rarely does everything go the way we expect it to. And Matt, you talked earlier about the anxiety of a first-time home buyer that's never been through this process before. And now in this market, sometimes the rejection can be overwhelming. And so that necessarily is not the fix-it strategy, but how do you handle with that the defeat, I guess, attitude that sometimes the buyer may feel that, we put 5 offers on 5 different homes and we're still getting beat out. And so your strategy to overcome that, I would love to hear how you and the good agents are adapting to and learning from what's going on in the market right now and how that's going to change you for the future.
Sure. Yeah. So one of the things I was taught early on, and this is definitely from my parents, is that your client is looking to you for the tone. And they're going to mirror whatever it is that I'm putting out there into the universe. So if I come to them with something that happens in the middle of a deal and I can't believe this happened, this agent on the other side, these people that we're working with on the other side, and that's how I am, guess how they're going to be. And so, I always try to keep things in perspective. And so I look at this and I go, guys, we've lost another one. Okay. But did we learn something? Because if we didn't learn anything, you wasted your time, I wasted mine. But
right.
if we're continually learning from each loss, what do we need to do better? Where could we have been better when we wrote this offer? How could we be stronger? Then it's a victory. You're playing out of a victory anytime you learn something from that experience and you're able to then translate that into the next one. And so
absolutely,
kind of that's the tone I'm taking, which is, guys, this is changing every day. And so the fact that you're in here rolling with this says a lot about who you are. The fact that you're not just bowing down, that you have this dream, the American dream of home ownership, that's put in you for a reason. That's part of who you are. That's part of your spirit. But then also the fact that you're out here continuing to go and try and be in this marketplace, it says a lot about who you're working with. And so, putting that back on them as well, that guys, we're not going to quit until you want to tap out. But at the same time, just putting positive energy into them and just continuing to kind of just explain to them, guys, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. We're just in tough times. We're just in tough times because, I mean, you're also buying in one of the areas where everybody wants to be. You're in a great place. So if we can get you in something, you're going to be set. And so just encouraging, uplifting, inspiring, the things that you guys talk about on this show.
Two things that I think that are going to come out of this market the way that it is. One is it's really going to create some new and expanded leadership in the real estate industry, because you have to take on that leadership mentality, because you are leading through some negative and challenging times. There's no doubt about it. And I love what the approach you're taking, Matt. The other thing is I think a lot of these people are really going to appreciate the houses they're getting in. I mean, they are. You see your dream home, and sometimes you kind of get into it kind of easy, and but they're going to love the ones they get in when they finally get in it, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And that's the thing too, is like I joke and I say, living indoors, it's in style, and it always will be. People need to have a roof over their head. That is never going to change. And so a lot of people, though, have this fear in the back of their mind. They're like, well, but the downturn and the way things are going right now, are there conditions that are kind of precursors to maybe another one of those? And while there is no crystal ball, you just try to look at, okay, what are the sort of, if you fall under these categories, which is that I want to stay in Texas for a period of time. My job security is not really going to change much. And nor is my lifestyle. So talking about, I'm not trying to have, 5 kids in 3 years or, anything like that. As long as those 3 things are going to stay primarily the same, you're making a good choice. And housing, the people who really during the downturn that really lost their shirts were the people who were overexposed, over leveraged. They owned more than one property. But for the most part, especially in Texas, we were pretty well insulated from that. When you look at some of the other major metro areas of the country, and as long as you're able to keep a job and you're able to make that payment and you're not trying to change your life too much, you're going to be okay, even if the market turns. And so I try to tell people that, and that maybe gives them a little bit of solace knowing, okay, I am making a good decision. This should be a great investment for me. And don't try to time it. Just stay in it for a time. And that's that age old wisdom, time in the market versus timing the market. Just stay in it. And you're not going to sell at a loss, just stay in it. And here in a number of years, you're going to be very, very happy you did.
Exactly.
Well, thanks, Matt. I want to ask you guys a couple of things. So, the 4 of us all come from backgrounds that in real estate, and so Lendon Credit Repair, of course, Taylor Roofing, and Matt, you as a realtor and myself as a home inspection company. There's often some stigmas, that are associated with our profession, some myths about our profession. What are some things that you'd like to debunk, in that regard? And I want to kind of start this because first off, I kind of going back to your mom, Rosalind, back in 2005, I had a situation, maybe 2006, one of the first homes I inspected that really showed some of my inexperience, and where a roofer called me out. Rosalind may remember this, where I inspected a house that had a new roof, but the roof was put on in the middle of summer, and so there was just a lot of damage that was caused during the roof, and I wrote up the roof kind of incorrectly and caused a lot of drama in that inspection that nearly blew the deal, but totally kind of fed into that line that inspectors are deal busters, or they're jacks of all trades and that kind of a thing. And thankfully, your mom was very gracious with me and showed me a lot of latitude in that, and I learned some lessons. But in that, what are some of the things that you guys have learned along the way, and what are some myths you'd like to debunk about your profession? Go ahead, Taylor.
Well, I'm not going to debunk anything about my profession.
Well, let me put it another way. Defend your profession without being defensive.
Well,
that's a great question. I love that.
So roofers have created a terrible reputation in Texas, and it is well deserved. It is a I can't even think of the words to describe it right now. But it is an aggressive, dishonest, shady profession in Texas. People are doing bad work, stealing money, not answering the phone, not honoring their warranties, pressuring people to sign contracts, taking the check and then going back home to Oklahoma and never answering their phone again. So I would say that our reputation is probably correct. The roofing industry's reputation. Also, I would say that sometimes customers have dealt with roofers a lot and have dealt with some of those guys and know how to wheel and deal. So we work with customers that are equally as shady, and that's okay. But for me, I love it. Like I said, I'm a guitar player. I'm a songwriter. I am a father. I was horrible at sales at State Farm. You can ask my dad. I was terrible. I was the worst, but I loved helping people. Our main owner, Chris, was a drum instructor. He is a coffee snob and kind of I want to say nerdy because he might watch this and then we'll have to fight. It'll be awkward. But Rob Gotcher, one of our other partners, was a music minister at church. And Wesley Quinneshay, one of our other partners, actually is a roofer by trade. But like one day he started playing the piano and started singing, and we were all like, oh my gosh, where did this come from? So he's this super talented guy. And that's where we're coming from. I'm coming at this job from a customer service standpoint. And I look at my job as a roofer is to be the exact opposite of what everybody thinks about roofing, even if it costs me business with some of those people that are expecting those things. So we don't cover deductibles. We will never. It's illegal. There's no argument about it. There's not a shady way of going around the law. Anything I think of an hour from now is illegal, and the law is clear. And I love that because that's what we're going to do anyway. We're going to follow the law. And we have like a lifetime warranty that we honor, even though sometimes it sucks to honor that because you're like, man, this is going to be rough. This repair is going to be rough, but we're going to do it because that's what we said we're going to do. And it feels great at the end of that to honor that customer and make them whole again. Because it does happen. I mean, every once in a while you mess up and you got to fix it. So I love that our industry is what it is, because it makes it kind of not, I'm not going to say easy, but it makes us feel justified in who we set out to be. And I love it. I love that we get to be different. I love that when I was a sales guy at PROCO, I drove a RAV4 with a ladder attached to the top of my car, and guys in big old trucks with like, dragon roofing would pull up to me and laugh at me and be like, "You're not a roofer." And I'd be like, "You're right. I'm a customer service guy. I'm going to go take care of some people and really, really take care of them." And so when I got made fun of, which happened a lot, I loved it. It reinforced why we do what we do. So that's another long answer. I'm sorry.
That's great. Matt, how about you? How do you defend your profession without being defensive? Because there's a lot of disruptors out there that would like to replace you, right?
100%. Yeah. And some of them did an excellent job, I will say. So the apps, let's talk about Zillow, Trulia, these apps that are very user-friendly. They wedged themselves between us, the agent, and our client before we got there. And I don't know if you've ever gotten an email from the MLS that we use. Up until recently, it was pretty clunky. It was hard to work with. Consumers didn't like it. And so they were the first people there to make it easy to what we're all using today, the phones, slide up and down on that, and in a very pretty and user-friendly way, put homes in front of people. But what did that cost us, the agents? Well, that cost us that relationship. And now it's being sold to us because they capture that. And then they go, hey, we have somebody here that clicked on our link here on our page or on our app. How much will you pay for them to get them? And so we've had to play catch up in that regard. But that's just one front. We have discount brokers, and I know discount brokers that do an excellent job, but they don't discount out of the kindness of their hearts either. There's a reason they can't charge the industry standard for what they're doing. There's either a sacrifice on their end, a sacrifice in what they're offering you. My company's a full service luxury brand real estate company, and we offer full service package, but we're also not the cheapest option. And so I take my car when I finally got a car that I loved, and it's not the nicest car in the world, but I take it to the dealership when I know there's a cheaper option down the road. And why do I do that? One, the service that I get is on a level that I, give my clients, but also I like it better. I like the service I get there. I can walk in and hang out in a lobby where I'm not regretting that I'm sitting around. It feels nice in there. The touch that I get from the person that I'm sitting across from when they're talking about the work that they did is on just a higher level, where they're explaining to me, oh, okay, this is why we did this, not just the fact that here's what you got to pay. Also, when I have a problem, let's say I get the car back and something's still not working and I take it back, they make it right. And it doesn't really ever usually translate into now you got to spend more money. And let's put that back into our field where you're working with maybe a discount broker and you go, well, what about this? And they go, oh, well, we don't really do that. So that's going to be more money that you need to spend for that service, or we're going to need to look at what we're charging you in order to kind of accommodate that. We do it all. And we tell you upfront what our fee is going to be. And that is linked intimately to the amount of money that we make you. We make a percentage, and we don't get paid $1. We take all the upfront risk. We pay for all the expenses of what that costs in order to get you online and looking perfect in the marketplace. We get you all the way to closing. And that's when we finally get paid. And what we get paid is not a flat fee. It's not about, oh, well, if I charge less and I bring more people into my wheelhouse and more people into my pipeline, I'll make more money. But the way that we have that is that it's not about bringing in more. It's about doing more for my client. That translates into a very satisfied customer. We had an independent company, a third-party company, come in last year and poll everybody that my team did business with, and we got a 100% satisfaction rate. And wow. That is something that only happens when you did the right thing for all of your people. And so that translates into relationships, that translates into referrals, and therefore we are going to get more in our pipeline, not because I was focused on being the lowest bidder and getting more business that way, but by doing the absolute best for my client. And then finally, the last thing I'll say is that the bar of entry, kind of to Taylor's point, talking about there's a lot of greasy car salesman types in my business. And that is because the bar of entry to get into real estate is so low. I could go take a couple of online courses, and we all know how those things are. Yeah, I could sit there and be playing a game on my computer and click through those, and I get credit for that course. You could do that. Go take your state and national exam, which they'll let you try, I think 3 or 4 times before they give you a few months period of time where you have to wait until you try again. But it's not the hardest test in the world. And now, wow, I can sell real estate anywhere in Texas. but did I learn? And am I part-time? Who am I working for? Is that broker investing in me? Are they teaching me? Are they giving me tools to use? These are really important things when you look at who you're selling with, because you're taking your most prized possession, the thing that you probably have the most money put into, maybe other than an education. And you're saying you want to link up with who to help you sell that? That's a super important question, because I'm telling you, it takes more to get a license to cut hair in Texas than it does to do real estate. And I say that, and I love my barber. I'm not dogging on haircuts. I'm just saying anybody could do this. And so you find the people who have been in for a minute and that people are saying good things about, and they have results. Those are the people you want to link up with. I when I'm with my clients a lot, in North Texas, we have foundation problems on our houses. A lot of them. We're sitting on red clay everywhere. And so you walk into a house, you see cracks, you start to wonder. Well, guess what? Foundation companies too, not regulated. Tomorrow, if the four of us wanted to be, DFW's real estate's best foundation company, and that's our title, we could be that, and no one's going to stop us. And so whenever I'm trying to find foundation companies for my people to work with, I'm trying to find guys who've been around 20 or 30 years and have a good rapport. Because the guys that are here today, gone tomorrow, they can't guarantee any of the work they're doing, and you don't know what that's going to look like.
Absolutely. Matt, you just said the magic word, here today, gone tomorrow. And Taylor, you know this as well, that every time a hailstorm happens, you have new realtors that are all over the ground. I think, and we've mentioned this, has been the theme the whole time. The people, you're not going to see shady people that are relational. They're not going to have the relationships. They're not interested in building a relationship. They are strictly transactional. They're going to get in, get out, make what they can, and you'll never hear from them again. And so when we talk about the legacy businesses like Taylor, your family, and Matt, when I've learned this, through being around real estate for 20 years, I tell people all the time, go find someone you know, like, and trust, or find someone that knows them, likes them, and trusts them. If you don't know those three things, and you cannot have some sort of validation, do they have roots in the ground? Do they have a legacy that they're committed to upholding? You're going to be just fine. But if you're just looking for the cheapest deal, you're going to get the cheapest deal every time.
Can I say something real quick about the licensing? There is no license in Texas to be a roofer. You can get a RAV4 like I did and a ladder, and you're a roofer. That's scary. That is really scary. We are members of RCAT, which is the Roofing Contractors Association of Texas. And it is a voluntary licensing. There's accountability with it. They check our books. They'll spot check installs. And it's basically a way for, if we screw something up, a customer can call them, and then they'll call us and be like, dude, you got to go fix that. Like, what are you doing? Luckily, that has not happened, but there's like 5,700 roofers in Texas. And there's probably 500 or 600 of them that have that RCAT license. And some roofers will make fun of us for having it and say, you don't need that. It's not an official license, but it's an accountability. It's for the customer. So we can just say, hey, we're telling you we're good, but just in case we're not, you have some teeth behind this that will stand up for you. So I just wanted to add that. Sorry.
That's great. Yep.
So real quick question, and we're getting kind of close to our time here, but 2020 was a tough year for a lot of folks. Some people, they had their best year ever, right? But there were some lessons learned, I think, for a lot of us. It was, a time of reflection, right? Because we were spending a bit more time indoors. What are some lessons you learned in 2020 that you're applying to 21 that you're doing differently, or that you've tweaked or modified that you're really seeing making a difference in your business?
Go
ahead. Yeah.
Me first.
Yeah, sure.
2020 was weird. Man, I mean, our business actually grew a little bit. Mainly, I would say because of staff. Like we had more people involved, but it was weird. It was dark. It was a bummer. Everybody was bummed out. Everybody was at home. Everyone was scared. Fear was such a big deal, and not being around people and not being together was such a big thing. I think we let some of the negativity, uh, creep its way in, and the big thing that we've learned this year is to not do that, and we've really tried hard to get rid of it in our culture, and try to provide a good place to work for our people, and try to have more fun and try to be together and support each other more. Everybody hates Zoom calls, and I made that joke where I was like, you're always on a Zoom call and the dogs are barking, or they're like, my dad will be on the Zoom call and he's 100 and he doesn't know that you're supposed to mute it or something like that. And so that just drove everybody crazy. So getting back to in person has been just wonderful, but trying to keep the positivity is a big thing. That's probably the biggest thing.
Taylor, you've got something coming up too that's about getting together and having fun too, don't you?
Absolutely. So we are actually partnering together for a big crawfish boil at our office on Main Street in Grapevine, for some of our realtor partners and different partners around. Another State Farm agent named Matthew Reinhart, who is one of our next door neighbors, is involved. And so we're just going to have a crawfish boil. We've got a band playing, and it's going to be great. I believe it's on the 15th of May. You know the time better than I do.
Afternoon, crawfish time.
Crawfish time, yeah. That's
whenever the crawfish are ready. That's
yeah. And it goes along with Main Street Days or Main Street Fest in Grapevine. So you can come hang out with us and get some free stuff. So
Matt, lessons learned from 2020 that you're applying in 2021.
Sure. So I think for us, it was what really kicked in, especially at the beginning. So rewind, the tape back to right when COVID was hitting the mainstream. We saw markets going down globally, and we all were wiping down our Amazon packages that came in our front door because we thought we were going to get COVID just if we touched the darn thing. So back when everybody was in a state of fear, I think it became for us, we had a lot of people, again, what do I need to do? Do I need to just stay put? Do I need to move? And a lot of things got put on pause. And so that gave us a really good opportunity to establish our culture, and set a tone for not just our people, but the people we work with as well, about, okay, again, kind of like what we talked about earlier, who are we when stuff goes south? Who do we turn into when stuff's hitting the fan? And so for us, that was getting closer to our people than ever, doing check-ins, and calling and trying to notice the need, whatever that is. If that was, I ran groceries to people's houses, I would just call people and just check in. Hey, how are things? I know we're all stuck in our homes. Are you still liking it now that you have to spend every day on the thing I sold you? And there was a standstill for a while. And then as people kind of got a little bit more confident in going outside, and long before the end of the year, we saw this spike, and we're still in that. And people started coming out, and then there was this mass exodus from New York and California, which we already saw for years, but it's happening even more so now to our marketplace. And it says a lot about who we are as a state. Go Texas. But everybody started moving here. And so we saw this price hike now that we're seeing. And so what do we do now? And people look to us for the answers. They want to be able to go to one person who is the professional and who has answers, and then am I prepared with a response to that question? Because they're, in a way, they want to know, but they're also testing us to see, okay, is Matt still savvy in this crazy marketplace? And so being prepared at any time to sit down and talk to somebody and have not a script, but have knowledge and to impart on them that's going to help them make decisions moving down the road. And, you know, as far as 2020, it was the best year for our individual team in Century 21 that we've ever had. We reached a goal that we had for 3 years. There's an accolade in the Century 21 system called Grand Centurion. We were able to achieve that goal. I think we had somewhere in the realm of $45 million in volume last year. And wow. So you go in one of the weirdest years of all time, we had our greatest year when what I know about last year and this year too, is that with volume being actually down, sales are down. There are right now in Texas more agents who are active than we have homes to sell. So that means if I gave one listing to every agent in Texas, there wouldn't be enough for every agent. We have more agents than homes. So being sharp and being the resource, noticing the need in people, these are the things that I think are helping us be successful in weird times.
Yeah, I love that. I think you both have done such a great job of becoming more relevant in the last year or so. I love to see that path to success that you guys have created for yourself, the legacy that you guys are standing on, but how you have been able to build on that. And again, that relevance with your clients, it's so impressive. And I'm so proud that you guys were able to join us today. Is there anything else that you guys would like to share about yourself before we go? And what's the best way for people that want to get to know you, connect with you online? I know we've had some information scrolling at the bottom of the screen there, but what's the best way they can connect with you?
Real quick. We got about 2 minutes. So we are scrolling. So tell everybody what you need to know there, Matt.
Facebook.com/Colleyville. That's my URL to get a hold of me. I got that URL a long time ago. Snagged that one. So Facebook.com/Colleyville, or my number there at the bottom. Call me, text me anytime. I'm a millennial, but I love to actually talk on the phone. So that would be the best way. Go ahead, Taylor.
Yeah. PROCO Roofing. Just search that in Facebook or Instagram. Our website is procoroof.com, and there's links to everything there, and 1-833-GO-PROCO. And you can send a message via carrier pigeon to my house. So
awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much, both of you being on here. Love the conversation. I look forward to talking to you more about what you got going on. And Lance, man, you did it. Great job.
Thank you, Lendon. What an honor.
Great guest, man. I enjoy this. I love hearing about these people and all the things that they're doing. And just, you know, I think what you touched on today is the negativity about many of our industries. And when we can come online like this and share the genuine realness and the humanization side of who we are and what we're doing in our business, I think that goes a long way to reestablish that trust for our industry. Right. So, Lance, thanks so much for being here today. I want to thank everybody for watching. We had a lot of interaction, a lot of comments, a lot of likes. So that's all good stuff. And we will be back on again next Wednesday. All three of you will be on next week. Right we'll be doing a follow-up, and so that's going to be pretty cool. But I want to thank everybody, and we will see you again at 11 next Wednesday.